Hey college football fans, Chappy here with another episode of Walk It Off, and today we're going to talk over-under win totals. So there's 3 win totals in the Power 5 conferences that I want to hammer here. Starting in the Big Ten with the Michigan Wolverines, win total set at 9.5 games. I think they start off 11-0, so I'm definitely hammering this over. And those who know me know I am not a Michigan fan. I don't want to see them as successful as I think they will be for selfish reasons, but I think they're going to be. They're non-conference. They start all at home against Colorado State, who has a new coach, Hawaii, who has a new coach, and UConn, who has a new coach. And by the way, UConn, their D coordinator, really one of the only links to the program, walked away from the team this week, had to step down, had to resign. So that's an easy 3-0 start. Their only road games for the year, only 4 of them. They travel to Kinnick Stadium to play Iowa, which could be tricky. They go to Bloomington to play Indiana, and they're at Rutgers before ending the season on the road at Columbus against Ohio State. So those are, in my opinion, aside from the first and last road games, Iowa and Ohio State, those are not tough in between. So I think it's easy to see Michigan getting to the over on 9.5. So hammer that one. The next team, Northwestern Wildcats. In 17 seasons, only once has Pat Fitzgerald posted back-to-back losing records. So they were 3-9 last year, but their win total this year is set at 4 games. I do not see Pat Fitzgerald winning 7 or less games in 2 seasons consecutively. It's just, it doesn't happen. It's not in his DNA. I think that he would turn sick before, deathly sick before that happens. And I'm not wishing any illness on my guy Fitz, but I'm going to hammer that Northwestern over 4. If you look at their schedule, they've got at home Duke, Southern Illinois, Illinois later in the season, Miami of Ohio, which could be tricky. I think the Red Hawks will be playing in the MAC title game, but early enough in the season, their strength is their passing game, and Northwestern's strength defensively is in their pass secondary. So I think that they could neutralize that. And again, Coach Fitzgerald and that staff are doing everything that they can to make sure that they are going to start fresh and well out of the gate. So I don't see them winning less than 4 games. So I'm going to hammer that over 4 for Northwestern. The other one I'm going to hammer is Oregon, over 8.5. Now the Ducks start the year ranked number 11. I think that they're going to start off the season with an upset of the Georgia Bulldogs in the opener in Atlanta. But even if that doesn't happen, you look at their schedule this year, they have a lot of home games. They get UCLA, Washington, and Utah all in Eugene. In the last 5 years, Oregon has only lost one time at Autzen Stadium in the last 5 years, and they're 36-7 going back to 2015. So we're talking 7 years. They've only lost 7 times at home out of 43 contests. The Pac-12 is not necessarily loaded. They don't have to play USC from the other side. They do have to play a tricky game in Pullman, Washington, but I think that comes early enough in the year. And Washington State still this is really year 1 of their new coach, Jake Dickert. I know he coached pretty much all last year, but most of last year, but he took over for Nick Rolovich when it was determined that Rolo was not going to get the vaccines that were required within that state. So Oregon, I think, is a team that will be playing for the Pac-12 title and could be contending as a top 10 team, maybe even a top 5 team. I think they're a legit college football playoff contender this year, so hammering that over 8.5. I also want to hammer the under 6.5 for Arizona State. Look, Herm Edwards, love the guy as a person, but there's some turmoil going on there right now, and they've had some guys transfer out. Now they've also had guys transfer in, but that side of the Pac-12, with USC going to be a lot better this year, that makes it even more competitive. I think UCLA is a real legit sleeper team in that South there. So I see Arizona State really as the 4th best team in the South, and they may not even be better than Arizona. I like what Jed Fish is doing and the way that the Wildcats are rising up and bearing down over in the Pac-12 South. So for Arizona State to get above 6.5 to win 7 or more games, I'm not seeing it. And if they do, credit to those players and credit to the coaches who are really having their hands full this year to try and work around those problems and the investigations that are going on with the illegal practices allegedly, and all those things that were going on when players were on campus when they shouldn't have been during the COVID quarantine. Other ones I'd like to throw out: Kansas State over 6.5. Now, I'm not hammering this, but I am locking that in. They've got South Dakota, Missouri, Tulane, Texas Tech, all at home. They have to play at TCU, but they've won 3 straight against the Horned Frogs, and TCU breaking in a new staff this year. They finished the year at West Virginia and hosting Kansas. So I think that they can get 7 wins out of that, maybe even steal 1 or 2. And I kind of agree with Bud Elliott from the Cover 3 podcast. I wouldn't be surprised if they were a little bit of a sleeper team in the Big 12. I know he also likes TCU, but Kansas State is a team that I'm not sleeping on. So I'd take the over 6.5 there. I'd take Ohio State over 10.5, but that's because I think that they win all their games on their schedule this year. Then again, I took them over 11 last year, and they only won 10 regular season games, so I'm hoping that they prove me right this time around. I think they're a better team than they were last season. I'm taking USC over 9.5. I'm taking Texas A&M over 8.5, and I'm taking the Florida Gators over 7. So Florida has Kentucky, USF, and in the early part of the season after playing Utah. So I think that Kentucky and USF, those are wins for the Gators under new coach Billy Napier. They might even give Utah a run for their money. I would not be shocked if the Utes were upset in week 1 playing out there in the swamp under a new culture and an improved culture, I think, under Billy Napier. They traveled to Knoxville in week 4, but they're 8-2 in Knoxville in the last 10 meetings. So they kind of own the Vols, and I think that might continue this year. They also play Eastern Washington, Missouri, and South Carolina at home. So I see at least 7 wins on that schedule. So worst case scenario, it's a push, but I'm calling for Florida to finish 8-4 this year. And then others on the underside, Virginia Cavaliers, sorry, but I see you going under the 6.5. Might get 6 wins. I don't see them winning 7. I think it's a more competitive ACC league this year, and with a new coaching staff, no discredit to Coach Tony Elliott, but I think it's going to take a couple of years to kind of get established, and you can't pin everything on Brendan Armstrong. I know a lot of people are really high on him, but you need an offensive line, you need an established running game to help out, and I don't see that just yet for UVA. And then I'm also taking Cal under 5.5. Love Justin Wilcox. Love the style that he plays out there. But again, it's a pretty top-heavy Pac-12 North side, and I know that there's no divisions this year, but there's a lot of teams on that Cal schedule that's going to make it difficult for them to get to 6 wins. But if they do, I'm going to be one of the first ones to be happy that I was wrong, because like I said, I really like Justin Wilcox, and I would love to see the Cal football program kind of rise a little bit. But with the uncertainty in the future of the Pac-12, there's been talks about Cal football. Are they even going to be around in the next 15 years or so? So that kind of weighs in a little bit. They lost quite a bit. They're having to replace a lot of score positions on offense and some important departures that are no longer there on the defensive side. I just don't see Cal getting those 6 wins to go over the 5.5. So give me Cal under 5.5. So running it down again, hammering Northwestern over 4, hammering Michigan over 9.5, hammering Oregon over 8.5. Other overs to take: Louisville over 6.5, Kansas State over 6.5, Ohio State over 10.5, USC over 9.5, Texas A&M over 8.5, Florida over 7. And then on the underside, look for Virginia to go under the 6.5, Cal to go under 5.5 win total, and I'm hammering the Arizona State under 6.5 from the Pac-12. Thanks for watching. Continue to spread the good word. I'm Chappy. This is what I know.